I guess it's, let's throw it out there, who's had experience with ozone in the past, and do they want to understand it, have any qualms with it?
Yeah.
Don't fully understand it. There's the only ozone that I have really dealt with is on spas, really.
Sure.
And there's one out at Narragansett.
Yep.
Because CO2 enters into O3, doesn't it, or something?
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so O2, yeah, O2.
Split them in half and makes them join.
O3 being the gas. Absolutely.
I've got one regular customer with it, and they've got a huge problem with black spot.
Yep. Yep. What are they using with it?
Cow hypo and a float now.
Oh, okay. So with the past is that ozone has had probably a tough run because it's been sold from manufacturers, distributors, importers as being a sole sanitizer, which is really incorrect, and given it a bad name. So ozone is an oxidizer. Okay, it's O2 converted to O3 being the gas. Okay, and the gas it's a very powerful oxidizer. So when you talk about oxidation potentials, you've got chlorine relatively at the bottom and ozone relatively at the top. So it's very powerful. The cons of it is that it's got a very short half-life. So it just wants to convert back to its original state being O2. Okay, so to have an ozone only pool is possible, not recommended, because it's not, you got to run it 24 hours a day, it's just not feasible. And that's where it's been let down in the past. You need to have a residual in the pool. So yeah, ozone, very powerful oxidizer, requires a residual in the pool.
It's a supplement.
Yeah, you can call it a supplement. We call it a secondary.
Yeah.
Some people call it a primary. We call it secondary. Our background is a bit about us. We were established in 1998, family business, closed shop for 6 years, 2004. During that time, R&D, patents pending, all that sort of good stuff on how to produce ozone at a cost that's feasible, essentially. In 2004, we commercialised various products, mostly in the industrial sectors, like cooling towers, black water, grey water, all that sort of good stuff, and had a really good track record there. We developed the ozone swim, which we'll talk about in a minute, 2005, 2006. Again, we found the marketplace was a bit premature, and we soon got taken into the commercial sector. So we've been in the commercial pool industry for 10 years, kicked a lot of goals, if I can say that, partnered with Swim Australia, endorsed by your Laurie Lawrences, all that sort of stuff. We look after hundreds of swim schools across the country. Swim schools, as you know, is warm water, heavy beta load, and usually terrible turnover rate in using domestic products. So it's been our purpose to educate that industry and obviously sell them a product to combat their chloramines usually and maintain sanitation levels. So we look after many councils throughout the East Coast and all across the country. And yeah, because that sector, in the warm water, hydro pools where we specialise in, that is the hardest water. Again, it's very warm water and usually very high beta load. So talking about water quality, it's all about those cryptos, all about combined chlorine that's present and is regulated. So
All those little kiddies in the water.
yeah, I'm very passionate about this Learn to Swim because yeah, I've got a little kid as well, and I actually take him to Laurie Lawrence Swim School. Even though we've got several in between where I live, it's just, you go, it's just for free really. But the water, you walk into our swim schools and there's no smell. You know, you walk into any indoor place and you usually get knocked over. And as you guys know, that's not chlorine, that's the combined chlorine. That's not good stuff. That's the one that irritates and causes all the issues, and you know, carcinogenic as well, the trihalomethanes when we talk about those. So that's what we combat, and that's what we combat with what we're talking about today. So we've got that anything commercial or strata wise, we've got products to suit. Again, we've got a whole product range commercially, but today I think we'll just focus on the domestic system. So it's good. So you understand ozone. We can talk about it a little bit more, how it works and what it does. But what we believe, the ozone swim is a product that was developed because we we knew the potential of it. We knew the downfalls of it as well, where manufacturers again would sell an ozonator and wish the person good luck and say it's the best thing, and not back them up, train them, and just tell them to throw a bit of chlorine once every so often, which is very cowboyish. The ozone swim, we're taking the best of both worlds. So we're taking chlorination, as you guys know it, and we're taking ozone and we're putting them together. It's a very powerful synergy. Okay, so you treat it as a salt pool. Okay, we're not claiming to be fresh water, and we're not claiming to be chemically free. Okay, what we're saying is that we're giving two technologies, putting them together. It's a very powerful partnership. Chlorination, we believe, is at its peak. It's being done. It's a fantastic product. Not much more manufacturers can do to improve on it, but maybe to reduce TDS levels. There's not much more. Or you've got the EQ series, which is now controlling, which is a fantastic idea as well. Okay, so chlorination's at its sort of, not much more they can do. And then you've got the alternative products on the market that you would hear about, like your swim mutts, hydroxy pures, and your copper-based systems, iron-based system, ionizers, etc., which are all up in that premium sort of marketplace, and not well educated people don't understand it as much. They maybe all have their place, but what we're doing is we're saying that what we believe they're missing the point. So chlorination and chlorine has never been the issue. When we talk about people want to be in fresh water and all that sort of good stuff, it's not really a true case. Chlorine, again, has not been the issue. It's always been the byproducts that have caused the issue. So even in the backyard pool, you've got chlorine byproducts, either from dosing hypo or creating it from chlorination. It's always been produced. And that's what's causing these issues. That's what people talking about red eyes and smelling like chlorine. It's always been those products. It's not free available chlorine. So what the ozone swim is doing is it's directly targeting those issues. So the ozone component to the system is breaking down the organics, impurities, bacteria, viruses in the water. But more importantly, it's focusing on the chlorine's byproducts. So what's left in the pool is just free available chlorine. Free available chlorine, like I said, doesn't smell at normal levels, doesn't irritate, doesn't smell, doesn't cause any red eyes, etc. So that's what we believe, that same as what we do commercially, exactly what we do commercially, and offering it to the domestic market. So that's the purpose of the ozone swim. It's a very basic, we've kept it very basic, and it's an honest product. Like I said, we're not claiming to be freshwater or chemically free, which again, we sort of cringe when we hear these stories of these systems coming out. Clarity, ozone's a natural flocculant as well. Okay, this is the benefits of ozone. So clarity of the pool will be increased dramatically because there's two oxidizers together and the relationship is very powerful. We don't need the chlorine levels that you would in traditional pools. So that's another selling point for the customer, is reducing their chlorine exposure. And obviously in doing so, all your balancing chemicals are reduced. Not eliminated, still balance the pool as you would, just that because you're not producing much chlorine, the pH is not rising, you don't have to balance the pool like that way. So that's another big point for the end user. And obviously the water is very soft, okay, because of what causes hard water in this case is again those chlorine, those byproducts. If the pool's not balanced, obviously that's going to cause issues as well. However, traditionally, if the pool, in an ozone swim pool, you get out of the pool and it's very soft. So when we talk about mineral systems these days, which have taken off, the Magna systems and now the aquatherapy is being used, that's all good stuff, but it's sort of masking the issue, okay? And we still recommend it. We call this a mineral salt solution. So if you wanted to sell a system, you can sell it with salt or you can sell it with minerals. It's a good upsell, I guess. So you can use it. TDS levels, 3,500, 3,000 we say, 3,500, keep it around that sort of mark. So it's sort of a lower TDS level. There's two methods of ozone production as well out there. There's a UV method, so you would have seen them in the past. It's a UV lamp in a box and ambient air is drawn across it and it produces ozone. It's very small amounts of ozone and it's a lamp. Lamp needs replacing every so often. And then there's been the Corona discharge method, which is the premium and usually high capital costs, okay? Our systems are all our own patented Corona discharge method, okay? So it's no consumables, no moving parts. We actually give a 5-year warranty on the ozone, where the ozone's produced, so the customer feels comfortable. So no consumables in there. What else can we touch on? Installation wise, it's a very simple installation. We've kept it simple. So this is the unit here. Just little things about the ozone swimmers which I'll touch on. So there's a 3-year warranty on the system. However, there is a check valve that's in place as well. That's a consumable. Okay, so every 18 months you'd replace that. They can last 3 years, but just to keep them good. And all that's for is if it's a flooded system, for instance, pump stops, water comes past, there's actually a spring valve in there as well, which is absolutely hopeless. Water start weeping its way up into the system. That check valve will catch it. So that's a replaceable or consumable item. So 3-year warranty on everything, 5 years on the ozone component and 5 years on the chassis. Just little things like this, the lid, coming from our commercial background, it's 304 stainless steel powder coated lids, 2.5mm aluminium powder coated, so it's good quality, robust system. We haven't gone the plastic moulded systems yet. We've been asked, but we believe that this is going to be here in 10 years time, whereas those ones, even though they look good, we've stayed with the conventional method. So installation wise, relatively simple. That's the only additional part that you need to cut in, return to pull. Okay, so you've got your chlorinator cell that you've all seen before. And then the ozone injection mantle is put in after the cell. Okay. We'll talk about that as well. There's 2 options. We can put it before the cell, so the ozone injection mantle before the cell, which is further advantage. Just a little bit tricky because of room usually. But when possible, always put the ozone injection manifold, so out of filter, straight into the ozone injection manifold, into the salt cell, back to pull. And the reason being is that the ozone gas being produced and injected into the venturi, passing across the titanium plates, there's a further chemistry that's created, which is hydroxyl free radicals, which is very, very powerful. We talk about the millivolts. Again, hydroxyl free radicals are at the top. So that's produced. So it's advantage. It's a bit of a pain to be able to do it because you haven't got the room usually, but when possible, certainly give it a go. It's an extra 10-15 minutes of your life.
What sort of suction do you need on that point? What's the recommended?
Yep, so upon installation, absolutely. So it's about 3 to 5 litres. Again, it's very forgiving. So in this is the conventional manifold which has been bashed around. This is how ozone systems have been used for decades. You understand the venturi, I understand the venturi.
Yep.
So of course you backing off the flow to create a vacuum from the venturi.
Yep.
Once done so what you guys will have a flow meter. Once you've set the flow, you would remove the handle so no one can touch it. Because if there's no suction, you might as well just have a chlorinator sitting there.
Yep.
Pointless. So remove the handle at all times because the owners tend to want to play.
Yep.
The other thing, yeah, sorry mate.
So what is it in KPA? We've got little chemigem gauges that give us a KPA figure on the suction side.
Oh, okay. We go litres per minute, but KPA could be done as well. Look, to be honest with you, once you guys do it for the first time, a lot of the installs these days don't even use the flow meter anymore, which is not recommended, but they just know what flow they need.
We'll use the flow meter.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Some of them just they know from installation.
Yeah.
Touch on that point. This is becoming phased out. Mm-hmm. Okay, because there's so many variable speed pumps these days and in-floor cleaning systems. The Jandy valve has been replaced with a spring-loaded valve. Okay, which means that whatever the pump's doing, if the P320 ramps up in the morning, because at this stage you'll set this to where the pump runs, medium or low. Okay, and when it ramps up in the morning, we're just getting more flow. That's all we're getting. But the spring valve will open and close depending on what the pump's doing. Okay, but we will always get what we need. So it's very easy and there's no adjustment. It's very basic. So more and more dealers are just saying it's just too easy. Just give us those. They work like a charm. So it's becoming easier. Teflon tubing. So again, Teflon is a highly quality product. It's going to be here a lot longer than any of it. Okay. Once everything's plumbed and cured, the check valve end, which is labelled usually, just goes on. Okay. Just give it a nip. Don't need to over tighten it. And that's at that point you would put the flow meter on the end of that. So you turn the pump on and you get your flow by adjusting the vanity valve, get it, and then you attach it to the control box. Okay, so very simple. And again, that check valve is something to look at every 12 or 18 months. So the Venturi is creating a vacuum and it's drawing the ozone from the generator. So ozone's generated on site. Again, there's no consumables there, no bottles or anything required. It's salt cell, so there's different models in the ozone swim. This one here is a 20 ampere or a 2000 model. Okay. As you can see, little things like this is what's been done as well. It's actually, you can see the cell's quite big. It's a 35 amp cell. It's detuned to 20 amps. And let's talk about an 80,000 litre pool or 75,000 litre pool in this environment or across the country. You only need to run about 14 to 15 amps during summer to the cell. So the cell's life is over, it's only just ticking over. So that's the other selling point for the customers. They're not coming in 4 years' time and need a new cell. We've got cells that are over 10 years that are still working. Mine in particular, which I shouldn't use mine as an example, looks brand new. It just ticks over. Running times are exactly the same as any other pool system out there. So you're 4 hours during winter and you're 8 hours during summer. Okay. So there's no changes of that. So again, you treat it as you would with any system out there. It's just that when you do a free chlorine test, be aware that your free chlorine levels are reduced. Okay. Which is a bit of a funny one with the spin test. I'm assuming you guys are using the spin test now. So we're talking with head office and Ben Data about just having as an option. So just to market as an ozone swim system. Otherwise, the customer's going to see, you know. We recommend what levels? Yeah. Yeah, we recommend 0.8 to 1, that sort of area. But don't be frightened. If it's 1.5 or 2, again, the customer doesn't know the difference anyway, because there's only the free available chlorine anyway. So it's very forgiving through its whole ranges. So if it's high, well, so be it. Just back off the chlorinator. And that's the other thing. The chlorine will remain in the pool longer because the ozone's done the heavy lifting. If that makes sense. So if you did an ORP test, this is a good example. So if you did an ORP test on 2 identical pools, one with the chlorination and one with an ozone swim, and both pools were at, well, the chlorinated pool was at 3 parts per million, and you did ORP test in the pool, and the ORP was 750, for instance. You went to an ozone swim pool, and say that the free chlorine was 1, the ORP will be 750 or even higher, okay? Because the ozone's done its work, and the oxidation reduction potential of water is higher. It's exactly the same method as we use on a commercial level. So we've got all of our commercial sites, New South Wales in particular, which the regulations are very good and very stringent, which thank God. You know, they're very particular about where they want to see their set points. We're running 0.8 free chlorine levels in hydro pools, 34 degrees in Sydney, because our ORP is so strong. Does that make sense? So yeah, same thing applies. Exactly what we're doing commercially is what we're doing domestically here. Any questions?
How do those sort of levels sit with like council and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's it's by the book.
Okay.
Problem we have commercially with councils is that each council is different, and each council is maybe not educated or is educated. So there's been many times that our customers have got a warning from the council that your chlorine levels are too low, and then we have to ring up Neil Shaw, who's the New South Wales, who's now retired, and say, Neil, it's happened again, and he would make a phone call on behalf of us to that specific person and give them a bit of a rundown. So it's education. It is education. So all of our owner-operators that are using our systems commercially, either being councils or whatever, are educated on that. So the council worker would come in and do a test at the pool, and the chlorine level's 1, for instance, and it should be 2. They start, you know, writing out a warning or whatever, and then the owner-operator is educated that will go, come look at my ORP. Have you done an ORP? They don't do ORP tests. Come to our controller, and the ORP is 800, for instance. Everything's put to bed. So it's just education. Yeah.
Sorry for the lack of understanding.
No,
but
please.
Can you control how much ozone's going into the pool, or is it just one?
In the
step that
domestic,
goes in?
it's just, mate, it is just, that's it.
So you can't over.
Not in a perfect world, it's possible, but not in a residential pool and the amount of ozone that's produced.
It burns off pretty quick.
Yeah, look, we don't care what's happening between that ozone injection manifold and that cell. That's all. We don't care. You know, we don't want any ozone any further. That's where it's like super chlorination, right? Essentially, every time the water passes through, that's how powerful that synergy is. But good question. Yeah. Any other questions? So do you understand the benefits? So what we're doing, we're not chasing those 10% premium customers. We've priced it, we believe, in an area that it's, if you go through your ranges, so from your E series, obviously, the customer's just going to get in and want their cheapest system and get out, and that's always going to happen. Then you can talk them into the V series and EQ, which are all good systems. Then you can talk about the benefits of this. You watch them take note and potentially get across the line there. The other good thing is this system is not on the internet. You're not competing with the independent shop down the road. You're not pricing. So we're finding our dealers getting close to full retail for the systems.
What is the retail?
Good question. So we've got different series. So for a 45,000 litre pool, it's about $2,100. Okay, list. For 80,000, anything above that to 80,000 litres, which is this one, it's about $2,700. So it's not a huge jump.
So the retail that you're saying, is that including GST, right? So they're looking at about 21.
List price.
Oh, 20, mate, I'm sorry. I'll get it out. Might be the easiest way. I should know. It's been a long week. So 21, 23. There you go. So that's your mineral water solution, the three different models there. Okay, and then you've got so there's a system that's just ozone only. So exactly what you talk about. So that's for upselling the customers. The customer's got a Chlorinator or an automatic dosing system, for instance. You can upsell them into the ozone. So you just stick it next to whatever they've got, plug the pump into the ozone swim into whatever's there. And if it's Chlorinator, turn it down by at least 25% initially. If it's an automatic dosing system like an EQ series, even better, because again the ORP control sensor will automatically slow its dosing down without even touching the settings. And if it's a hypo dosing, same again, if they're using 10 litres at hypo a month, that will be reduced automatically. So, and they get those benefits.
And it's the same thing with the cell. If you can put it before the cell.
Yeah, absolutely. It is highly recommended, but I just know it's a bit of a pain because you've got limited room and there's a bit of weight on that as well. You know, you've got the injection manifold coming off the cell, off the filter, and you've got the cell. It's highly recommended, but sometimes it's not feasible. The other thing is the systems. Mums and dads potentially, have got younger kids and they've been into a swim school and they've seen the Swim Australia, logos, and that gives it the system credibility as well. A lot of our swim schools have flyers in there, congratulating the owner-operators for spending the money on improving the water. A lot of leads come from there. Many leads come from there. That mums want the same water in their backyard pool. So yeah, just little things like that.
A lot of those, well, the kids have skin conditions and whatever.
Absolutely. There's a little A5. This is the flyer actually here. That's the 5 points we talk about. Okay, so you can, red eyes, itchy skin, all that sort of good stuff, but people are getting more educated on.
Can I ask, you may know, Eagle Boring out at Emu Plains or Independent Swim Centre in Penrith, do they have...
No, I don't know of them, no.
Is that the new mixer that you're talking about?
No, that's a static mixer. So we'll touch on that as well. Because I'll touch on it now actually.
So I'll come out and install it for you.
So I've got to talk to them about their stuff there. And they sort of ignore you.
If is it learn to swim, is it?
Yeah, it's...
Another ball game. This is not going to... It's a drop in the ocean.
Net.
Yeah. We'll talk about the commercial, absolutely. And look, feel free to go into all those swim schools, just target them.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the way, the full chemistry is the same.
Yeah.
It's just
The chemistry is the same, the benefits of ozone is the same, it's just a different,
your
different
RP
unit.
ends up being stronger per
Hmm.
Yeah.
ppm of chlorine, essentially.
You know.
So there's a static mixer in that price guide, guys. Do you understand what a static mixer is?
Not really.
So if there was a clear PVC here and the pool's running and you're injecting the ozone, here would be like millions of little, it's called mass transfer. So billions of little bubbles. Looks like milk even. And that's what you want. It's efficient, the ozone's mixing. About here, it starts to become larger bubbles and less efficient. So what a static mixer is for, it's an upsell for the option. It's an option, not essential by any means. Static mixer, it's stainless steel, how do I explain it? It just breaks it back up again, twists the water again and breaks it up into many, many bubbles again. It's beneficial on any level, dosing hypo, CO2 or anything, not CO2 for you guys, but CO2, we do it on commercial to mix everything very efficiently.
So would it be,
So that did increase.
yeah, I was going to say, would it be correct in thinking that pH reduction is more of a challenge with this type of system?
Not at all. Ozone's pH neutral. So ozone doesn't contribute to pH at all, okay?
What about if you relate it to what you were just saying though? The aeration.
Yeah, the aeration is through carbon dioxide.
Mm.
So
You'd
it's a carbon
usually-
exchange system, so there's no carbon dioxide being introduced into the water, so there's no drive up of the pH.
So CO2 is used commercially. We're a big promoter of CO2 to be used on a commercial site, and there's many advantages there. And we do things a little bit differently there as well, because traditionally on these big commercial sites, they have a CO2 injection in the 200 ml pipe, and then they've got the hypo injection. So you think you're putting another gas in there, and it becomes bigger bubbles, and you can actually see bubbles come up the return of the pools in some cases, especially in council pools, which they just seem to waste money. It's not efficient. Okay, so little things like this we'll talk about, but on our commercial sites, we take a percentage of water off, okay, after filtration, 25 ml line for instance. We inject our CO2, okay, this has nothing to do with ozone. We have a clear PVC, so you can see the bubbles go in. We have static mixers in different places, and we've calculated the length of time we need for the CO2 to dissolve. On the other side, when it comes back from its contact chamber, we have a clear PVC and there's no bubbles. The CO2 has been dissolved efficiently. Then we inject our hypo in that same line. We dose the hypo, so that relationship between lower pH and hypo is very, very powerful. And then we put it back into those big pipes. Then it mixes. Just things like that we do a little bit different, because it's all about saving these guys. In that sector that we've been in, the learn to swim industry, they're all very money conscious and they've got no money, supposedly. So it's all about saving them money but giving them better water quality. So.
Charge you a bucket.
So commercially, we've got, and there's all this stuff here. I've just put a little pack together for you guys as well. There's a bunch of those A5 flyers for you guys to take. We can put your own logo on there and do mail-outs, provide you, or make them electronic versions. You want to do an email out or whatever. Pricing there. Case studies on commercial sites there for you as well. This is the actual brochure on the Ozone Swim domestic range. So you've got what we talk about here, your mineral salt ozone solution, and then you add on ozone to your current system. Okay, that's the brochure. It's actually brochure / operating guide as well. So it's all